Have you ever wondered why the men who speak the least often hold the most sway over women? Not the loud, charming guys who flood a room with words, jokes, and constant energy. Not the over-eager man who texts too often, who explains himself endlessly, who desperately wants to be understood. No, it's the man who can sit in silence, who doesn't rush to fill every pause, who lets the moment stretch without anxiety. He is the one who unsettles her, who pulls her attention like gravity, because silence, in a world where everyone is addicted to noise, is power. Imagine this. You're sitting across from a woman at dinner. She asks you a question. Instead of rushing into a nervous explanation, you let the silence linger for a second longer than most men would dare. Your eyes stay calm, your body still. That pause alone changes everything. She leans in. She fills the space. She begins to wonder what you're thinking, if she has your approval, if she is doing enough. In that tiny moment, the dynamic shifts. Most men fear the silence, but the man who doesn't breaks free from her control. She's now playing his game. Why does silence hold so much power? Because it exposes her. Most women test men constantly. They withhold attention, they delay replies, they suddenly grow cold just to see how you react. Do you chase? Do you panic? Do you beg for answers? Every word you spill in those moments is a confession of need. And every ounce of need you reveal is a subtraction from her respect. But when you meet her withdrawal with stillness, when you answer her coldness with composure, when you let her silence rest without forcing comfort, you become untouchable. She feels it. She can't control it. And deep down, she respects it. Think back to a time when you over-explained yourself. Maybe she was upset, and you rushed into apologies, giving her 5 reasons why you didn't mean to hurt her. You thought you were repairing things. But what really happened? She tuned out. She lost interest. She saw desperation. Contrast that with the man who, when accused, doesn't scramble to justify himself. He simply looks at her, calm, maybe says one clear sentence, and then lets the silence work. She can't pull him into emotional chaos. She can't shake his center. That man is magnetic. But silence is not just about words. It's about energy. It's about not over-investing too quickly, not spilling your soul to someone who hasn't earned it. Think about texting. Most men double text. They can't stand the delay. They need the reassurance, so they chase. But the man who sends a message, then continues with his life, not even looking at the phone until hours later, that man holds his ground. His silence is a statement: I am not waiting on you. I am moving forward, with or without you. And paradoxically, that is what makes her lean in. Silence is also a shield against manipulation. One of the most common games women play is emotional escalation. She'll raise her voice, exaggerate a story, or accuse you of not caring. Most men react immediately, defending, correcting, or pleading. And in that reaction, they surrender control. But if you can stay silent for just a beat longer, if you don't let her emotions dictate your pace, you force her storm to collapse. She realizes her fire doesn't burn you. That's when she calms down, because she sees your strength is not something she can bend at will. Here's the strategy the next time you feel that pull to react. Stop. Notice the urge to fill the air with explanations, justifications, or pleas. Don't. Let the silence breathe. Hold your frame. Watch how she adjusts to you instead of you adjusting to her. You'll see it in her body language. She'll fidget, lean in, soften her tone, ask more questions. That's the subtle shift from her leading to her following. That's the quiet transfer of power most men never realize is happening. The truth is, men lose women not because they lack money, looks, or status. They lose them because they can't handle the silence. They reveal too much, too soon. They show all their cards before she's even put one on the table. And once she knows exactly how much you need her, she stops needing you. But if you can embrace silence, if you can let the pauses live, if you can stay unshaken when she withholds, you flip the game. You become the man she can't quite figure out. And that is the man she never forgets. Have you ever caught yourself over-explaining to a woman just to feel safe again? Have you ever double-texted and immediately regretted it? Or maybe you felt the shift when you said less, and she suddenly gave you more. Be honest. Drop your story in the comments. Silence unnerves her because it forces her into a space she doesn't control. Most women are used to men scrambling for approval, filling gaps with reassurance, bending over backwards to keep her interested. When you don't play that role, when you hold your ground without explaining or apologizing for existing, she feels something she doesn't usually feel with men: uncertainty. And uncertainty is the birthplace of desire. Think about this. A woman pulls back. She stops replying as quickly. She takes longer to answer your messages. Most men sense this immediately and panic. They start pouring more energy in sending another text, calling, asking if something's wrong. They think they're fixing the problem. But really, they're confirming her suspicion that she holds the power, that he needs her more than she needs him. And once that's exposed, the attraction begins to rot. But imagine instead that when she pulls back, you don't chase, you don't call, you don't fill the silence with desperate energy. You live your life. You go to the gym. You meet with friends. You let hours, even a day, pass without collapsing into her test. Now she feels it. Her mind starts to wander. Why isn't he checking in? Why isn't he trying to win me back? That shift flips the frame. Suddenly, she's chasing the silence you hold. Men underestimate how much women notice in those small moments. If you reply instantly every single time, she knows she's your top priority. If you explain yourself endlessly when she gets cold, she knows you fear losing her. If you can't sit through an awkward pause without blurting something out, she knows your validation depends on her response. She might not say it, but she feels it. And deep down, it costs you respect. But when you can let her wait, when you can leave a question unanswered for just a moment longer, when you can resist the urge to prove yourself, you become rare. Because you are showing her that her approval is not your oxygen. Let's make this tactical. Next time she delays replying, resist the urge to chase. Instead of pulling out your phone to double text, put it face down and go do something physical. Go lift weights, take a run, finish work, let time pass. If she's interested, she will come back. If she doesn't, you just saved yourself from pouring energy into someone who was never truly invested. Either way, you win. The silence filters the genuine from the manipulative. Or imagine she's upset and throws a jab at you. Most men immediately defend themselves, raising their voice, proving their point, trying to erase the accusation. But what if you just stay calm, let the words hang in the air, and respond with one measured sentence? You're free to think that. Then silence. That silence forces her to confront her own emotions without dragging you into them. She'll either calm down or escalate, but if she escalates, it exposes her immaturity, not your weakness. You win again, because you didn't hand her control of your emotional state. Silence is also the test of your own self-worth. If you can't handle it, you're not centered. If you need to fill every pause with words, it means you fear being forgotten, ignored, or left behind. Women feel that fear, and they lose respect for it. But if you can stay grounded in the pause, if you can let her lean forward instead of you leaning in, you project a quiet strength that money, looks, and charm can't buy. That's what makes silence dangerous, because silence forces her to reveal herself, while protecting the parts of you she hasn't earned access to yet. Here's the harsh truth: the man who always talks, always explains, always seeks to make her comfortable will eventually become invisible. She'll grow numb to his energy because it's predictable. But the man who can remain silent, who can let her sit in the unknown, who doesn't give every thought away, he's unforgettable. She keeps thinking about him after he leaves. She replays his words, not because they were many, but because they were few. She can't solve him, and that mystery keeps her hooked. So ask yourself right now, do you over-explain when she gets cold? Do you double text when she pulls away? Do you speak just to avoid the weight of a pause? Or can you let the silence breathe and trust that she'll adjust to your gravity instead of you orbiting hers? The answer to those questions might reveal why women respect you or why they quietly lose interest. Have you ever had a woman pull back, and instead of chasing, you just let her be, and suddenly she came back stronger? What did that feel like? Or on the flip side, how many times have you chased silence, only to watch her slip further away? Be honest, share your story in the comments. There's a moment every man remembers. You were with a woman you liked, maybe even loved, and you felt her slipping. She wasn't as responsive. Her voice sounded a little distant. She didn't light up when she saw you the way she once did. And what did you do? You tried harder. You gave more. You explained yourself. You reassured her. You showed up bigger than before. But no matter how much you poured in, she gave back less. That sinking feeling in your stomach. That was the price of breaking the law of silence. Because the more words you throw at her to win her back, the more she feels she's already gone. This is the trap so many men fall into, thinking love is earned by effort, when in reality it's sustained by polarity. Polarity means tension, and tension comes from restraint, not indulgence. When you talk too much, when you give too much, when you always reveal your hand, you collapse the tension. She knows you're already caught. The game is over. But when you hold your ground, when you don't scramble to convince her, when you stay quiet in moments that would make other men panic, you preserve the polarity. She doesn't get certainty from you. She gets the thrill of wondering where she stands. And that wondering is what keeps her invested. Imagine she tells you, "I don't know if this is working." Most men would immediately beg for clarity, explain how much they care, list reasons why the relationship should continue. They would try to sell themselves back to her, and in doing so, they lose all power. But picture the silent man. He looks at her, calm, and simply says, "That's your choice." Then he lets the words hang. That moment terrifies her, not because he's cruel, but because he's not trying to pull her back. She realizes she might actually lose him. Suddenly, the weight shifts. The silence makes her feel the risk of her own decision, and more often than not, that's what brings her back to him. Not his begging, his silence. Here's another common example: arguments. She raises her voice. She accuses you of not listening, of not caring. Most men immediately jump into defense mode, firing back explanations, rushing to prove they're not guilty. But notice what happens when you meet that storm with silence. Not sulking, not pouting, not giving her the silent treatment. Just calm stillness. She unleashes her words, and you don't bite the bait. You let her energy burn out without feeding it. Slowly, her volume drops. She hears the echo of her own voice bouncing back at her, and in that reflection, she calms down. Your silence disarmed the fight before it began. Silence is not about absence, it's about presence. Most men confuse the two. Silence isn't avoiding her. Silence isn't ghosting or disappearing out of fear. That's weakness dressed as distance. True silence is active. It's when you stay in the moment, unshaken, without rushing to fill it. It's eye contact without over-talking. It's listening without planning your response. It's walking away from manipulation without a speech. It's not coldness, it's clarity. And that clarity is rare. Now let's talk tactics again. If she withdraws attention, don't react. Match her energy with composure. If she delays texts, let her. If she accuses you, give her one calm answer, then let the silence stretch. If she demands you prove yourself, don't. Instead, turn inward. Ask yourself, am I living as a man who respects himself? If the answer is yes, then her approval is a bonus, not your lifeline. That's the mental frame that makes silence natural. You can't fake it. Women smell fake detachment instantly, but when you truly know your worth, silence becomes effortless. Here's the irony. Silence doesn't just protect you from manipulation, it amplifies the value of your words when you do speak. If you talk constantly, your words are cheap. But if you choose them carefully, if you let silence carry the weight between them, each one lands harder. A short sentence in the right moment can cut deeper than 1,000 explanations. That's why the man of silence feels powerful. His voice isn't competing for attention, it commands it. So ask yourself when she challenges you, do you collapse into over-explaining when she pulls back? Do you chase into the void? Or can you hold the silence, trust the pause, and let her adjust to your gravity? Because the truth is simple, she doesn't respect the man who tries to fill her emptiness. She respects the man who refuses to be emptied by her tests. Have you ever felt the shift when you didn't chase? When you let her sit in the silence and she came back on her own? Or have you felt the pain of chasing, only to see her drift further away? Which one are you living right now? Share it with me below. The real strength of a man is revealed in how he handles the invisible moments, not when everything is going well, not when she's affectionate and attentive, but when she withdraws, when she tests, when she becomes unpredictable. Most men crack under that pressure. They interpret silence as danger, and their instinct is to rescue themselves by chasing her validation. But every time you do that, you hand her the keys to your self-worth. And once she realizes she owns that power, she can never truly respect you again. Think about a time when she suddenly pulled back her warmth. Maybe she was distant, slower to reply, or less affectionate. You felt the knot in your chest. Instead of holding steady, you reached out more. You asked, is something wrong? You sent good morning texts every day, even when she didn't reply. You offered to see her, to fix things, to explain yourself. But each time, she slipped further. Why? Because your panic confirmed her suspicion you weren't the man who could remain calm under uncertainty. You needed her energy to survive, and nothing kills attraction faster than dependence. Now picture the alternative. She goes quiet. She doesn't reply to your text. The old you would have panicked, but instead, you stay calm. You don't double text. You don't question her silence. You carry on with your day gym, work, friends, your mission. Hours later, maybe the next day, she feels the tension. She wonders why you didn't chase. She checks her phone again. Did he lose interest? Did I push too far? The silence makes her uncomfortable, and that discomfort drives her back toward you, because women don't respect men they can predict. They respect men they can't fully control. Silence is the reset button in power dynamics. Every time you withhold the instinct to explain, every time you resist the pull to react, you reclaim ground that most men never realize they've lost. And here's the truth she may never consciously say: I respect him more because he didn't overreact. But she'll feel it. She'll test you less. She'll lean in more. Because deep down, women crave the stability of a man who doesn't get pulled into emotional storms. But don't confuse this with arrogance or the silent treatment. That's not what we're talking about. The silent treatment is passive aggression, a weapon to punish her. Real silence is different. It's rooted in calm confidence, not fear or manipulation. You're not avoiding her, you're simply not controlled by her. You're present, but not reactive. That distinction is everything. She can feel the difference between a man who is sulking because he's hurt and a man who is silent because he doesn't need to prove himself. One is weak, the other is powerful. Here's a tactical shift you can apply immediately. The next time you feel the urge to defend yourself when she accuses you of something, pause. Instead of giving her a 3-paragraph explanation, choose one calm sentence. Something like, I hear you, or that's how you see it. And then stop. Let the silence do the work. She'll either fill it by softening her stance, or she'll expose her immaturity by escalating further. Either way, you win, because you stayed in control of yourself. Another scenario, she pulls away emotionally. Instead of chasing, step back, match her energy. If she texts you less, you text her less. If she delays replies, you delay replies. Not as a game, but as a reflection of reality. You're not here to carry the entire weight of connection on your back. You're here to meet her halfway. And if she doesn't show up, your silence will reveal the truth faster than words ever could. You'll know whether she's genuinely invested or just using you as an ego boost. The silence also trains you. It teaches you to sit with your own discomfort instead of outsourcing it to her attention. Most men can't handle this. They need constant reassurance, constant noise, constant validation. But the man who can sit in silence, who can feel the discomfort and not move, that man grows unshakable. Women feel that energy. They may push, but they secretly long for a man who won't break. And here's the part most men don't want to admit. The silence you're afraid of is the exact silence that makes her respect you. It's the gap where she realizes you're not afraid to lose her, that you're enough on your own, that her games won't pull you off center. That's when she leans back in, because suddenly you're not another man orbiting her, you're the gravity she orbits. So I'll ask you directly, can you sit in the silence without flinching? Can you let her test you without collapsing into explanation? Can you let her pull back without chasing after her? Or do you still hand her your power in those invisible moments? Answer honestly. That truth will determine whether women respect you or quietly dismiss you. What's been the hardest silence for you to hold? Was it waiting for her reply? Was it not defending yourself in an argument? Or was it sitting across from her in person, resisting the urge to overtalk, share it below?